think my favorite was probably when it snowed last year.
Oh yeah.
Nelson had an air mattress that he kept in the lab, and I was out like sledding on this giant hill by our like basketball stadium, football stadium, and I just see Prem coming across the field just carrying the air mattress, and he gets there and he's like, "This is what I have to sled on." He's like, "Go for it."
Welcome to another episode of Young Entrepreneurs with the Green Roof Team. My name is Nelson Fernandez, your host. And today, we have a special episode, folks. You're joined by 3 other Green Roof Team managers on the founding team. And I'll let them introduce themselves, kicking it off as Prem.
Let's go. So, we always like to say special, but this time it's really special because we've expanded our boundaries to more than one per guest. So I'm Prem. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer, one of the co-founders, the whole spiel. You've probably seen one of my podcasts or whatever. But yeah, I do a lot of the marketing stuff, pretty much all the marketing stuff on the side. So if you've seen something on social media, chances are I've probably uploaded it. And if it sucks, you can direct all of your ear to my LinkedIn, where I'll be sure to ignore it. And I'll pass it on to Steven.
Yeah, so my name is Steven. I've been with the Green Roof Team for a few years, currently working as the course development coordinator. But I am Nelson's self-described Swiss Army knife. He makes me do anything that needs to be done. So I'm really excited to be on this episode with everybody and tell some stories. And I'll send it over to Tanner.
All right. Hey, guys. My name is Tanner Clark. I've been with the Green Roof Team for a little over a year now. And I am mainly the product manager for the Blade Kit. So that's been really exciting to see how that product has developed. And, I look forward to talking about that with these guys. You may know me from my dulcet tones from other podcast episodes.
Dude, I was going to say, your mic sounds a lot better now than it does in other... Did you change your mic?
No, I'm just not screaming like I usually do. Yeah.
Dude, it sounds good.
I'll try and... okay, so you guys all know, I basically scream all the time, right? That's kind of just my default. So it's actually it's hard for me to speak like this and just be relaxed. Okay. That's not usually how I talk, but yeah, we're trying to mellow down. I'm in a hotel right now as well. So
quiet time.
It's probably quiet time by now, and I don't want to have everybody hear me through the walls. So
no, he just wants to show off his cool voice. It's fine. You can admit it.
That's also a nice plus, I will admit. Yeah.
Coming up soon, we'll have ASMR episodes with Tanner.
That's true.
Let's see what I can find here. You guys my keyboard. Can you guys hear that?
Just barely.
Just barely. Well, it's ASMR, so that's how that works. All right. Well, Nelson, introduce yourself because we usually don't get to hear from you too much.
Thank you. Yeah. I'm Nelson for everyone out there listening. If you get emails from the Green Roof Team, most likely those are from me. If you get them at early morning times, it's because I usually schedule the emails, write them ahead of time, schedule it, don't have to think about it again. But here I'm the Chief Executive Officer, wear a few other hats also before handing them out. I like to think of myself as a hat maker, someone who can see what kind of roles people fit into based on what their interests are, what their passions are. Unless you're Steven, in which case everything can be a hat.
Dude comes up with hats for Steven just on the phone. He wakes up one day, he's like, yeah, I want Steven to do this now. And he just comes up with it. And Steven's like, yes, sir, I can do that.
I just show up and I have to do things. And sometimes it works out.
Steven's a computer
Usually it works out.
scientist, but he'll show up to a meeting one day, and Nelson's like, "Yeah, can you do electrical? By the way, can you wire our entire solar panel operation on the roof?"
I almost got electrocuted a couple times. It happens. We're fine.
Yeah, we're fine.
And that's a great segue. Steven, what's something in the past year you didn't think you would do but ended up doing?
Helping set up an entire wind and solar system, like wiring it. I had no idea what I was doing with that. It was definitely interesting because our first year we put up the first turbine, and I didn't come up with the whole circuit system for that, but I did have some hand in it, and I am one of the ones that actually physically put it together. And that was fun coming back the summer or the fall after we put that in, and almost getting electrocuted because Nelson told me to unhook something. It was still wired into the car battery. That would have been fun. And then, going through that entire year, just trying to come up with this new circuit design, helping Alex with PCB. I'm a computer science major. I sit at a keyboard all day. That's not what I do, but apparently I'm capable of it.
There you go.
So,
Instead of sitting at a desk typing on a keyboard, you're sitting at a desk wiring it together.
I swear, I think I had 3 days of coding all last year, and everything else I did was just wiring and circuits and soldering. It was just wonderful. But, I'm not the only one that did some stuff that they weren't used to. I know Tanner was working with blades that entire year, trying to figure out how to put carbon fiber on it.
That's definitely something that was entirely new to me, starting from the fall of last year, as we were putting together, what is becoming the blade kit. That journey was really cool. I really liked how I was able to relate it to classes I had already taken. One thing that I always mention is your design variables for material selection. That's something that really has, made an impression upon me, upon a lot of different things in my life, because I think it's just a great way to make decisions in general. Just figure out the stuff that you have to have, and then find the one thing that you just can't get enough of, and that you want more and more and more of. And that can really guide your decisions between, okay, how am I going to design this thing, or what materials am I going to select? Or it can even relate to what kind of job do I want to have, for a career, or what kind of place do I want to live in? You just think about all of those things and then sort them in a way that makes more sense, so you're not getting stuck in analysis paralysis. That's definitely something that I often find myself in, is taking a very long time and going back and forth between decisions. I find it very frustrating. So it's a very powerful but yet simple tool for me to just keep myself moving in the right direction. So, but yeah, applying that to materials for the blade kit has been something very cool. And it's been a way that it's shown me a lot more, and it's pushed me to learn and grow within composites, specifically speaking, and then just in project management as well. So it's been something I've been very thankful for all you guys, just to expose me to these things and push me as we lead a team together. So I guess, if we're talking about teamwork and all that, I guess I can bump it over to Nelson then. I guess in the last in the last year, what have you seen overall with the team? You know, how do you think that things have changed, I guess, since you started, like Green Roof Team, and I guess a lot of like the design thinking workshop and a lot of things that I wasn't a part of, you know, I wasn't in the picture at that point. How do you think things have changed since then?
Yeah, definitely. I know that first year and a half before you came into the picture was much differently, especially that first, I'd say, year. It was just me and Prem in our dorms, just on our computers, playing it out, making content, getting it out, getting workshops into play. And then we moved up that second year, got a lab.
Really, it's the
guys.
lab that made things like that's when we became serious, right? It's like before, it's just in our in our dorms and whatever rooms we had. Like we did design thinking workshop before last year. Like we did that virtually, and that was pretty cool. But like it wasn't as cool as like doing some of the design thinking stuff in person, and like all of our iteration and stuff. I feel like this year was such a big leap once we got the lab.
Yeah, it's just like being there in person, getting hands-on, like working with like Alex, for example, designing out the electrical, it's one thing. But for me and Steven to be in the lab, seeing how the wires connect, fucking it up, and being like, oh, that's where it goes. That's where the real progress goes into.
Dude, wasn't there one time it was with one of the battery things, right? And I put something in the wrong place on the battery control. I don't remember what exactly I did. Do you remember?
For you, no, but I remember I plugged in Arduino and I looked away for a few seconds and began smoking up.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No,
yeah.
that's what I think I did. I killed one of the Arduinos because we tried to test it using like the battery controller, and I put the things in the wrong place. Like I connect them together, and it just overloaded the Arduino. And that's when I started using that like janky battery thing we had in our lab. So for those who don't know, there is this like voltmeter that we had in our lab. It was really old. I'm not sure how old it is, but it made a noise when it turned on, which I didn't expect voltmeters to make. It looked like an actual battery. And so it was like really finicky on how it was reading power levels, or like voltage reading. And like, we had to get like special wires to try and get that to work. And so that's what I like had to use for the solenoid valve for the autonomous irrigation system to like try and figure out, because the solenoid valve, the way it works is you send power to it and then it opens, and then when the power is gone, it closes, or vice versa. And so when I was creating the circuit for that, I had to test if power is actually going to the valve and such. And that was a struggle. That was a big struggle. I was like 80% of the time, I was like, I don't even know if this voltmeter is even working, or is even showing the right power. But eventually it did. And it was cool. And then the irrigation system did the irrigation system stuff.
And that's what matters. As janky as anything we did looked, it worked out in that. And one of the, I would say, big options we had in the past year was this trash turbine. And Tanner, that was just entire bottle on its own.
Yeah. I think it works is a pretty good summary or motto of that entire project. So, I guess a good way to describe that is juxtaposing with what I'm currently doing now with Blade Kit, right? So we're trying to make this really refined product with a very elegant geometry, additive manufacturing, then using, really modern materials, carbon fiber composites to create a quality product, and that was not the disaster resilient wind turbine, or colloquially called the trash turbine, as we endearingly referred to it. So I guess for those of you who aren't familiar, our project there, which a lot of us wrapped into our senior design last year, was to make a wind turbine out of like common items, so that if you had the work instructions, you could put it together after like a natural disaster, and you could generate enough electricity to charge like a small electronics device, you know, like a cell phone, something like that. So going back to that constraint stuff I was talking about, main constraint for us was we had to put it together from things that you could find readily available. So we ended up doing it, at least one of our prototypes we did out of PVC pipe, bicycle tires, and wood and nails, and made this thing, you know. Didn't look at the most refined thing, but like I was so amazed, especially when we were like in the lab. We had built the cage together with those blades, and like we stuck that fan to it and it actually spun. Oh man, that was a great moment. Because, you know, there's always that doubting, I guess that doubting Thomas in the back of your head. That's like, there's no way this is going to work. You know, this is literally made out of junk that we found at like flea markets and off of Facebook Marketplace. So, you know, there's got to be something wrong with it, but like there it went and it worked. And then even like taking it outside was the coolest thing too, and seeing it like start up and even like 3 mile per hour winds and stuff, and just you know, letting it do its thing and observing a wind turbine in all of its glory was very satisfying. I was very happy to see. Oh man, sorry.
He's so blown away by it that he's gonna.
I'm just blown away by it. Yeah. I was trying to mute my mic and like cover my nose at the same time, and it did not. I didn't do either of them. So, moral of the story, kids, is do not try and multitask because it doesn't work. So
yeah, I remember when you brought it into the WSIU like news station, the turbine, right? Because we were doing promotion for that, which never came out. I think I hopefully still have that video, because that actually could have been useful to post. But like that, I remember people were just really kind of like couldn't like in awe of it, right? Because the entire time when I was proposing the project, I'm like, yeah, we're gonna have this big turbine that we need to bring in. It's got to go over there, and we're figuring out, you know, how we're gonna get on the set. And, you know, it's all student people, so they like didn't really quite comprehend that it would like what it actually was, because I'm terrible at explaining stuff, so they didn't quite comprehend it.
And it's not really what you assume when you think of a turbine, right? So usually we think of the big horizontal axis things, you know. So I'm north of Decatur right now. I'm in Forsyth, so I'm just a little bit south of a huge wind farm. It's like south of Bloomington, at least in my mind, if any of you people are from Illinois. So yeah, we think of these big things that look like almost like airplane propellers, but this isn't it at all. It's still a wind turbine. It's still propelled by the wind, but it's a vertical axis. So instead of spinning like this, it spins like this, you know. So Prem's got the background with the and Steven does too, with the vertical axis ones. So you can see a little bit. That's not the shape that we went with either. It's kind of a different design, but the motion is similar. Oh, and there's Nelson's got it too. I guess you all got the memo, and I did not, unfortunately. But yeah, so just the motion is different than what you would expect. But I think seeing it and watching it in action makes it click for you, you know. That's why I even wanted to go into mechanical engineering, is I like visualizing and understanding the process in like a physical visual sense. It's also why I avoided in part all the electrical stuff that all three of you guys worked on, you know, because I can't see it, so I get frustrated with it. But, you know, it's something that I need to still learn about. But for now, I'm content with wind turbines and just watching them spin.
Well, something that I thought was really useful for Trash Turbine was like the focus groups that you guys did. You know, speaking of doubting Thomas, I brought our buddy Thomas to that focus group to I don't even remember exactly what you were doing. I think that you were having them just try and build it from your schematic,
Yeah.
and seeing, three random people on a college campus in the middle of a foyer just trying to build a wind turbine, I thought was kind of funny because nobody knew what they were doing.
Yeah. Well, it was one of those moments where, like, so it started out and they had no clue. It's like you've got your IKEA furniture and you got all the parts like sprawled out on the living room rug, and you're like, how does this become a dresser? But like you get there eventually, and I was really impressed with how quick it clicked and they got things together. Because I think it took, each group took about an hour, which was impressive. I liked to see that. That was good data. Speaking of speaking of Thomas, I guess, what was some of your guys's favorite moments, like in the lab or like with some of our team members? That just kind of got me thinking about those kinds of moments, because I had a lot of those with Thomas and him jumping in and wanting to learn things.
Oh, I've got a few, but I think my favorite was probably when it snowed last year.
Oh yeah.
Nelson had an air mattress that he kept in the lab, and I was out sledding on this giant hill by our basketball stadium, football stadium, and I just see Prem coming across the field just carrying the air mattress, and he gets there and he's like, "This is what I have to sled on." It's like, go for it. And I think you guys actually ended up pulling Prem around on the air mattress with a truck after.
Yeah. So, I love 4-wheel drive. So I took my truck out into the parking lot, in between the basketball arena and the football stadium. And then Nelson got in there and he was driving for a while, so he could pull me, because we just attached each other to. So I put some tie downs, right? Some ratchet straps. I hooked them up to my hitch, and then you just held on to the back, kind of like you were wakeboarding, I guess. And you just whip each other around the parking lot there. That was a really good day. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and that for those who don't understand the context, it snowed a lot. The roads were covered. I mean, not a lot, but roads and parking lots were covered, and I think, do we have classes canceled?
We
had classes canceled.
Yeah, so there was a lot of snow, and that's what made it work so well. I'm surprised we didn't pop that mattress. Because there was one point, I think we had 7 or 8 people or something on it, or we had 7 or 8 people on one thing at one point. I'm pretty sure it's the mattress, because it was the only thing big enough to hold that many people. But all of them were just holding on for dear life, and we used pretty much whatever we had, the tie downs, to make it work. I would say that pretty much represents our collective engineering knowledge right there.
Yeah. Yep. Oh man, you definitely bought a quality air mattress though, Nelson. It didn't pop somehow. It lost a lot of its air, but what did you clean that? What happened to that after that day?
Yeah, definitely that air mattress is just built differently, guys. The blue ones, you just know their stuff. But I just threw it in the washer, washed it out, dried it, air dried it. Still works. Still use it.
Very nice.
But I can think dozens of times I was just in the lab, took a nap on it. Always a good time. I know in the lab, part of my favorite memory, it was late one night. I was prepping the conduit for the wind turbine that first year, and I got a call from Devin, and it's 10 p.m. And he was like, "Oh, Nelson, what you up to?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm just in the lab doing some wiring." He's like, "Can I come?" I'm like, "Yeah, if you want to." Devin shows up, Diet Pepsi in his hand like usual, and we just figured a way to get the wire into the conduit for the next 2-3 hours. beautiful. I know, Steven, you had a lot of fun wiring too.
I had so much fun wiring.
He's holding a grudge. He's putting you on your hit list on his hit
Well,
list for that.
Well, the thing about it is, like, when I was learning how to wire everything up, especially that first year, I was in a physics class where I was also learning how to like wire up circuits, and not just in Green Roof, but also in that lab, I almost killed myself multiple times on accident because I had the TA come over and be like, "Yeah, this is putting out enough amps that you die. That's why it shut off." I was like, "Oh, cool. Glad I did it here and not in the lab." Because we did have a lot of those like really funny moments where, you know, we did something wrong and then we notice like 10 minutes later that we really could have gotten hurt, but we were all fine. So like kind of laughed it off. But
I know, Prem, you also had fun wiring last year too.
Yeah, I mean, I did a lot of wiring in the for the irrigation system, and sort of trying to help out wherever I could. I think my favorite memory has to be like I come in late one night, just trying to get it work because I couldn't, and like eventually I think I did get it to work, and I'm in there alone. So what I like to do there when I was in there alone is pretty much keep everything except like one light on because I like kind of the dim lighting or whatever. So, you know, you can like see the only lights you can really see are, you know, like the one half of the lab lights and then, you know, the battery, like the voltmeter lights. And so as I'm like trying to get the solenoid valve to go, the voltmeter would like turn red when it's pushing out too much, essentially. And so before it like wouldn't do it at all, which means like the circuit wasn't put in correctly. And so I like put some wires together and I do it. And then I see the thing turn red and I'm like, oh, it's alive. So that got me really excited. And then like after a little bit of tinkering, I could like hear a distinct click from the solenoid valve, which meant that it was working. And that was like a really big deal because that meant that, you know, we could actually start making some cool progress on stuff. So that's definitely one of my favorite moments. I think another one is just like having all the wires around the lab all the time. I remember there was a solid like 1 to 2 months, I think, where like half of the lab was just like small Arduino wires and then the big conduit for the irrigation system. Like that was pretty much the entire second semester of school because I was always just working on stuff there. And I know like you guys are probably like, when was he going to clean it up and move it out of the way? But yeah, those are some big moments, I think.
Yeah, I mean that was everything. It was, I don't know, it was interesting to say the least of like how we started out last school year, so fall 2021, and like the lab or our half of the lab was relatively clean, I want to say, and then you think about how it was in like April, and we just had all this stuff in there from trash turbine. We had literal trash in there that we picked up from wherever, you know, like microwaves, alternators and stuff, and then other stuff that we had ordered in, all this stuff in here. And yeah, it's cool to recall that like in my mind, right? And think about all the things that were laying there and the stories that they all tell, you know, because like this was used for this project, or we were going to use this for this, but then it ended up becoming this, you know, and just the organized chaos that we had in there, you know, was really indicative of the kind of the pace and the environment that we were at.
Again, he's blown away.
There it again. Yeah, I'm just blown away. But yeah, it's definitely, it was an interesting environment to be in for that year while we had it, you know.
Yeah.
So,
you know, I will say it's a team that's kind of based on a green roof. We've talked a lot about being away from the green roof. So I do kind of want to hear on everyone's favorite moments on the actual roof. You know, we have some key kind of points there where we did a lot of cool stuff, and that's kind of where sort of the projects that we base our company around now. That those are originated from that roof. So I kind of want to hear maybe some favorite moments that you guys had on the roof. And I'll hand it to Nelson since he was the one who kind of scouted out the area and, you know, decided to call us the Green Roof team.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely, like, there's tons of memories just being up on the roof, random days just getting away from people and just being up there with the plants. But probably some of my favorite had to do with having high school students up there, having different classes come up, see the roof, mainly just promoting the University Innovation Fellows program up there. But can't forget just the installation days along with the photo shoots. Photo shoots, best days ever. Just me sitting up there on the ledge, looking back iconically and being like, yeah.
Yeah, for me, I'd say installation. Well, I was only part of one really big one, right? But that day was super cool to see a lot of our projects come to fruition. I liked that a lot, and I loved to show people what we were up to up there and have some of those teaching moments. Like when we had, I forget, it wasn't like mathletes, was it? Or
It was like high school students from the area.
Yeah, like they were doing some kind of competitive test taking. It wasn't WISE, was it? It was
No, it was just a math competition for the.
Okay, so it was math of some kind. Yeah, that was cool to speak with them about it, and then just share a little bit more about just life as a college student and what you want to do, what kind of careers you want to aspire to, I think that's something that we continue, even into this past year. A lot of it goes back to education and empowering people to innovate within their own little spheres of the world, but to educate themselves to do that the best way they see fit. So, yeah, those times of sharing, I know have meant a lot to me, and I really cherish them.
Yeah, Tanner, do you remember during the installation, like when there's that group of students walking by, I think, and they actually saw, because we moved the temporary wind turbine to the other end, and so they actually saw it, and we kind of like yelled back to them, and they yelled to us. Like, do you guys remember that?
Vaguely.
I think you guys were actually doing
real
stuff
vaguely.
while I was, meandering around.
Okay.
But,
Cause like
yeah.
I could see myself yelling at people because that's what I always do, but like I do it so much, I'm not honestly going to remember it either. It's kind of just, once again, my kind of default method of communication often.
Yeah, that's fair. For me, there's two distinct memories I have. So the first one, it's, as Nelson mentioned, one of the photo shoots. We were doing a video, I think. And I think Nelson knows where this is going. It had to do with
Cayenne peppers.
Yeah, cayenne peppers.
It had to do with cayenne peppers.
Yeah, so I don't know exactly what the video was on, like, exactly about. I think we were introducing one of the doctors doing research on there. It took us a solid 45 minutes to get the shoot down or something like that, because Nelson kept saying Kanye peppers instead of cayenne peppers nonstop. He would say his line. We had it all scripted out, and he'd be like, yada yada yada, Kanye peppers, and then he'd do the whole thing, and I'd be like, Nelson, it's cayenne peppers, not Kanye peppers. And he's like, okay, let's do it again. Yada yada yada, Kanye peppers. I'm like, dude, come on. Eventually, he got it. He had to say it really slowly, but he got it. And so that's definitely like a distinct memory, especially because I think it was cold that day and it's like very, like, the sunset was out. It was a nice shot. The other one I distinctly remember, it was nearby that snow day that we mentioned. So it just snowed on the roof, and I had gone up to check the data on the irrigation system, and I just remember being really in awe, seeing like how nice the snow was like flat over thing. Like it felt like I was going into uncharted territory. And then I remember having to dig out pretty much the entire irrigation system because it was all under snow, like all of the boxes. So for those who don't know, the irrigation system, we basically had all the electronics in these like boxes. I'm pretty sure half of them were straight up frozen. Like there was ice on them that I had to like dig out. And then like some sensors weren't working, so I had to find those, and it was a mess. But I loved being up there like in the snow and just like working on it by kind of peacefully. It definitely like it felt really cool. I would say it's definitely not like the installation days are really big, but those like small moments and stuff I think are what really made the green roof for me. And I know Steven had like I think you were gonna mention something when I said the yelling thing. Like I know you had some core memories on the green roof.
So I don't remember the yelling so much. Like I'll always yell like hi to people if like I'm doing something cool and I catch them looking at me because I think it's funny.
Yeah.
But I think my favorite memories from the green roof, like actually being on it, are just like the redneck engineering and like hillbilly problem solving that we did to get stuff up there, because we didn't always think about how we were going to get something on the roof. We just knew it needed to get there. So, you know, I remember there was one instance we were trying to get my toolbox up because my toolbox was just filled with like wires and, you know, all this stuff that we needed to hook up the system. And we had no way of getting it up because I'm not going to throw like my nice toolbox. So I wrapped a thing of electrical wire around my waist, like through my belt loops, and tied it to my pants, and then tied the other end to my toolbox and just like hoisted it up the ladder like that as somebody's like below it, just like don't fall. You know, stuff like that. I mean, we even went up and were working on some of the wiring in the rain. So we had like 3 umbrellas just sat down, like, and we're just huddled underneath these umbrellas, hoping that the circuits don't get wet and, you know, we don't ruin the PCB. Just random things like that where something had to get done, but we didn't fully think about how to get it to that point, but we still found a way to make it work. I like those moments because it's a lot of collaboration.
I think that's a good headline for what our green roof team experience has been. As janky as it looks, as redneck as it looks, it worked. And just like recalling back, thinking about all the memories like we've been going through, guys, like it just brings a smile to my face. And for everyone listening, as we begin wrapping up today's episode, we got more of this going on. We got more special episodes for you guys out here talking about what we've been doing and where we're heading into. So stay tuned as we continue to dive into our next steps, into our journey, and continue to follow us, guys.
Into the great unknown.
Into the great unknown. And remember, folks, stay sustainable.
He said it. He said the thing.